Since January 6th, Congress has introduced more than 1,396 pieces of legislation. Hi, my name's Ruth Ann Parker, and today is February 17th, 2025. I'm going to be honest, I have been extremely apathetic about politics in our country. I've believed myself to be an educated voter, but the truth is I wasn't. I was oblivious to the majority of what was happening. I feel my place right now in our society is to read all the legislation and pass that on to other Americans. So let's jump right in. Today I want to start with H.R. 35, the Agent Raul Gonzalez Officer Safety Act. This act, it says, is to impose criminal and immigration penalties for intentionally fleeing a pursuing federal officer while operating a motor vehicle. This was brought to us by a Republican out of Arizona, Juan. I'm not even trying to say his name. I'm not going to try to say his last name. It was sent to the Committee on the Judiciary. It amends Chapter 2 of Title 18 of the U.S. Code. If it happens within 100 miles of the border while fleeing law enforcement, if you are convicted or you confess, you get prison of not more than 2 years and or a fine. If bodily injury occurs, then you get 5 to 10 years prison and or a fine. If death occurs, you get 10 years to life and or a fine. And it's a deportable offense even if the person is here legally. A yearly report must be submitted to the House Judiciary Committee, including the number of people charged, the number of people apprehended, the number committed but not caught, penalties sought, and penalties imposed. So on the for side, Representative Tom McClintock, a Republican from California, talks to us about a large number of high-speed chase fatalities of American citizens and law enforcement officers by human and drug smugglers. I kind of wish they would give numbers and sources, and that might have happened in committee, but I can't gain access to that information. I'm writing letters to each of the committees to address that problem. He said in recent years, cartels and human smugglers have recruited drivers to transport illegal aliens from the southwest border further into the United States. I've done a lot of research on my own about immigration and the problems at the southern border. I assure you this hasn't just started happening in the past few years. It's been happening for decades. On the against side, Pramila Jayapal, who's a Democrat from Washington, tells us the bill is simply to cause more fear of immigrants. The current hate has caused immigrants in places like Jacksonville, Charleston, Green Bay, Harrisburg to fear going to work, school, and church. The local economies are suffering. These laws are also a waste of Border Patrol's time by taking them away from their job of stopping drugs from coming into the country. Just looking different and speaking another language is enough for Border Patrol to interrogate people. Not just Spanish people are affected. Native Americans are being interrogated because of these policies. She brings up the problem that dangerous people pretending to be all sorts of law enforcement officers with the intention of doing harm. I don't know about any of you, but I had teenage drivers, and I taught them when they were younger that if they were being pulled over, if there was a police officer behind them running their lights in a dark space, in a quiet space where there were no people, then they were not to pull over. They were to go to a well-lit area with people around, because we don't know if that's a legitimate police officer. And legitimate law enforcement agencies understand that. And they're okay with people waiting until they're in a safe place. So Jamie Raskins, who's a Democrat out of Maryland, says this bill is duplicative, but also expansive. So what's expansive is this applies to citizens. It goes way beyond the border. He says it goes all over the country. It doesn't define what it means to flee. It doesn't require a high-speed chase. And it can apply to a woman who hears on the news there is a madman out there claiming to be an ICE agent who is attacking women. She hears about it, and a plainclothes officer in an unmarked car begins to chase her. She moves away and stops 3 or 4 blocks later. She is guilty of violating their sloppily drafted bill. If they're serious about it, we should go back and have a real hearing and have a look at what states across the country are doing. That's what Jamie Raskin said. I just want to add that this people smuggling immigrants and drugs aren't doing it to make money. They're doing it to avoid their own death or the death of a loved one. In my research, I read a book called Deported to Death: How Drug Violence is Changing Migration on the U.S. Border by Jeremy Slack. On page 129, he said, "Want better pay? Risk your life crossing the border and live a precarious existence where you can be easily exploited. Fleeing violence? Claim fear and spend years seeking asylum, paying lawyers, wearing an ankle monitor, appearing before judge, or detained in immigration detention. And finally, stuck at the border, deported or unable to cross, get kidnapped, extorted, tortured, and killed. Or you join up to kidnap, torture, kill, and of course, die. These Faustian bargains have become part of the migration experience during the past decade of extreme cartel violence, reminding us once again that undocumented migration is not something people do without a great deal of pressure and desperation. These are not people crossing because they think there's an easy welfare state to exploit, but people who see few options forward. This interplay between hammer and nail, victim and victimizer, must be acknowledged because it is a major driver of violence and death at the border. This bill was passed by the House of Representatives 26 to 155 and is on to the Senate now. Okay, next I want to talk about Resolution 12, which is the Stay on Schedule resolution. This was brought to us by Robert Whitman, who is a Republican out of Virginia, and it was sent to the Rules Committee. It's prohibiting recess during August until approval of all regular appropriation bills. Yes, absolutely a great bill. They're not allowed to go home until the budget is set. That's a great idea. Okay, House Resolution 15, rescinding the subpoenas issued by the January 6th Select Committee on September 23rd, 2021, October 6th, 2021, and February 9th, 2022, and withdrawing the recommendations finding Stephen K. Bannon, Mark Randall Meadows, Daniel Scavino Jr., and Peter K. Navarro in contempt of Congress. That was sent to Rules and Judiciary. Please hit the like, subscribe, and share this video. I know that most people would rather have root canal than spend hours reading legislation, so help me get this information out. Thank you. Have a great day.